The 2006 postseason begins today in Minnesota as the American League Central champion Twins host the best from the West, the Oakland Athletics. It's game 1 of the division series next on ESPN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
The best pitcher in the game is waiting under the dome. Behind him, the team that calls the dome home and makes a habit of winning there. With a batting champion, a breakout star, and the roar of the crowd on every hit. But the noise is no protection against a perfect curveball from an ace. And you can always resort to raw power if all else fails. From out of the West and into the fire, the Athletics have come in to face the Twins. The hunt for October is over. Now, it's history they see. The division series begins now on ESPN. And welcome indoors to the first game of the division series and ESPN's coverage of Major League Baseball's American League Division Series presented by Budweiser. We've got the huge crowd indoors at the Metrodome, and we've got the champions of the West, the Athletics, up against the champions of the Central, the Minnesota Twins. And the big crowd has gathered, and they're already making lots of noise. The rally towels have been distributed, and these Twins fans are hoping that with their ace Santana and their passion that the Twins will be moving on when this series is over. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and it is a great pleasure and an honor to be here to get the whole division series thing started right here, and you'll be able to see most of it right here on ESPN. And, Joe, we got a great way to start it here. Two hot ball clubs, the hottest teams in baseball, the second half of the season, and two aces. Barry Zito, he was a Cy Young winner just a few years ago, and Johan Santana, he won the Cy Young Award last year, likely will win it again this year. But Zito today tries to nullify the advantage that Santana would seem to give the Twins, and he'll be up against some outstanding Minnesota hitters like young Joe Mauer and Justin Morneau.
Well, John, I think the key for Barry Zito today will be to get off to a quick start. He has a tendency sometimes to come in high with the fastball early in the ball game, and that's when he falls in trouble and gets behind. If he falls behind today against Santana, he's going to have a problem. So the key is going to be get off to a fast start, keep Morneau under control, who is an MVP candidate, and Joe Mauer. The thing that the Twins do is that they put the ball in play, and that could be great here on the carpet.
All right, so we've got Zito, and for the Twins, Johan Santana, 19-game winner. He has not lost a game in this ballpark since last year, August of last year. And he's up against Frank Thomas, who had an MVP-type season for the Athletics.
Well, when you talk about Santana, you're talking about a super ace. This guy has it all. A great makeup, great fastball, curveball, slide. He has everything that it takes to dominate a lineup, and he can do that easily. I think one of the keys is going to be today, not only is Frank Thomas the guy for the Oakland Athletics, Jay Payton and Mark Ellis are going to be two guys he's going to have to control. But guess what? Santana comes out of the gate firing, and again, if Zito starts slowly, it could be a long day for the A's.
All right, so early may be critical. Well, you saw Santana on his way in for the bullpen. Frank Thomas may be coming up in that first inning. The Twins are about ready to take the field, and game 1 of the division series and the 2006 postseason is about to begin. We'll come back with the first pitch after this. And the Minnesota Twins have taken the field, and the Homer Hankies are out in full force for this one here today. Also here with us is Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Well, John, Frank Thomas has said the Metrodome is the most intimidating home field advantage in all of baseball. Now, here are some of the reasons why. During a day game particularly, the ball matches the roof of the dome, so it blends in and is very hard to locate at times. Also, the A's players have said the lights are very low here, so at times they are blinding. But, John, the one thing they have all mentioned is the noise. Eric Chavez told me at times this place becomes deafening, and he said today we will have to use hand signals rather than communicating with each other because we won't even be able to hear each other, John and Joe.
All right, and that is part of life in the Metrodome. But of course, the Twins are here all the time. There's Ken Maka, 4 seasons as the manager of the Athletics, and he's had a lot of success. 2 times now they have won the American League Western Division champions. Let's take a look at the starting lineups now, presented by Prestone. It'll be Jason Kendall, the veteran catcher, hit .295. Leading it off, Mark Kotze in center field at .275. He's had some back problems. Milton Bradley, and he finished the season on a hot streak, .276 overall for the year. Frank Thomas, an MVP type season, 39 homers, 114 RBIs, the DH hitting cleanup. Eric Chavez, and he was hurt one way or the other almost all season and really struggled. Jay Payton in left field, he had an excellent season for the Athletics, hitting .296. Nick Swisher, 25 years old, second full year in the big leagues, 35 home runs, first base. Marco Scutaro in place of the injured Bobby Crosby at short, and Mark Ellis at second base, batting 9th. All up against Johan Santana, a 19-game winner this year, and well on his way to another Cy Young Award.
Well, the one thing to notice about Santana, it doesn't take him time to get into the ball game, to work his way into the game. He comes out in the first inning firing, and from that point on, you're under a lot of pressure if you're a hitter. He mixes his pitches well, and he just does not give in to a hitter very often. Great changeup, great slider.
The umpiring alignment is listed by the commissioner's office. Randy Marsh is behind home plate. Kerwin Danley, Mike Everett, Ed Rapawano on the bases. Tim Cheetah along the left field line. Tony Randazzo, the right field line. And the first pitch of the first game is a called strike. And the first roar of the crowd, once the game is underway, accompanies it. Santana, a fastball, 94 miles an hour, strike 2.
The first one was a get it over fastball, 92 miles an hour. Now he reaches back and moves it up to 94.
Kendall only 1 home run, but he's an excellent 2-strike hitter, and that ball is just foul. Third base umpire Ed Rapawano right there to make the call. Jason Kendall has been around a long time. He's a veteran, played a lot of baseball, 1,545 regular season games, but now is making his very first postseason appearance. And the changeup struck him out. Pulled out of the dirt by Maurer, and he throws him out.
Anytime you get behind him 0-2 and you haven't seen but one pitch, which was a fastball, you're in real trouble because he has a changeup and he has a great slider. I mean, look at the movement on the pitch, way out in front, and Kendall has no chance. In fact, he throws the bat at the ball, trying to just make contact. You can't get behind Santana. I think that's one of the keys if you're the Oakland A's. The first good pitch you have to hit, you better jump on it.
Well, and that is a cautionary tale, that first at bat for the Athletics as a team, because Kendall is one of the toughest men to strike out in the Oakland lineup. And Santana strikes him out swinging right out of the box. Mark Kotze, 275, 7 home runs in the regular year. And the slider spins in there for a called strike. Johan Santana, 27 years old, 19 wins, 6 losses. He led the league in earned run average, 2.77. Fastball just off the outside. Santana, among the league leaders in just about any category you might mention, tied for first in wins. Led the league in ERA, led the league in strikeouts, toughest starting pitcher to hit. And the breaking ball swung on and missed.
And that's what they call winning the triple crown for a pitcher. Lead the league in wins, strikeouts, and earned run average. And I guess that's the changeup. It looks like his changeup sometimes looks like his slider. He takes a little off the slider.
And a fastball.
No doubt about that one. And that's the tough part about him. There's so much variance in speed, from 95 miles an hour to the fastball to 84 miles an hour to the changeup.
2-2 the count. And it's a full count now. And Randy Marsh has a narrow strike zone, a little too narrow for the crowd. 3-2 the count. Pretty good eye there by Kotze to lay off that pitch with 2 strikes. And he struck him out. He came back with another one.
Again, when you can throw any pitch at any time, the hitter never can get comfortable in the batter's box. You say you work him to 3-2, you're expecting a fastball. What does he do? He throws your slider. And, of course, it's right on the outside corner, and you're way out in front. You have no chance of hitting it anyway because you were looking for a fastball. You could see him off balance. Kotsay trying to catch up with a fastball, and it was a slider.
Milton Bradley, and that fastball is too low. Milton Bradley, a switch hitter, acquired from the Dodgers in the offseason. And that seems to be a trade that helped both ball clubs, Joe. They sent Andre Ethier, a young player, to L.A., and he had a very fine year. This is from deep in the hole by Bartlett, and he got it. Santana, 3 up, 3 down. Now, Barry Zito, the Oakland A's, will take the hill. They've come out in full throat today to the Metrodome with the Homer Hankies, which always are a fixture in the postseason here at the Metrodome. And there is Ron Gardenhire, who has had great success since taking over as the manager of the Twins from Tom Kelly. The Minnesota batting order now presented by Prestone. Luis Castillo, the former Marlin second base, excellent leadoff man. Nick Punto, who helped turn this club around at third base. It'll be Joe Mauer. He was the American League batting champion, the catcher. Michael Kadire, 109 RBIs hitting cleanup in right field. Justin Morneau, 130 RBIs, and he's at first base. Torrey Hunter, 31 homers, a career best. Center field, Rondell White, the veteran, finished up hot in the second half. Phil Nevin, veteran DH, 22 home runs. Josh Bartlett hit 309 at shortstop. And there is Barry Zito, 28-year-old right-hander, Joe.
Well, I think the key again is for him to get off to a good start. Barry has some problems finding his rhythm early. He throws a lot of high fastballs, as we saw there. A lot of times you can tell how Barry's going to pitch, and if he gets off to a good start, he gets the fastball down. A lot of times he starts with it up. That's when he has the most problems.
Bluffing the bunt, Castillo takes a called strike.
But he has to match what Santana did, or this crowd's really going to erupt, and it's going to give the Twins a big edge in today's ball game. That's where he wants the ball, down there.
Now that looked like a strike to me. And maybe not to you, to your season, Dr. I mean, you took a lot of pitches. 2-1 the count. And that is high. 3-1.
Again, that's the problem he has early in the ball game. I mean, you're watching him be a little erratic up, down here at the beginning. An inning later, he'll find his rhythm, and everything seems to be perfect. But sometimes you give up a run early, and that may be too much against Johan Santana.
3-1 the count, and he walks him. Now, Zito has a lot of postseason experience with the Athletics, but this is the first time that he has ever pitched a game 1. Those always used to go to either Tim Hudson or Mark Mulder.
Yeah, I remember 2 or 3 years ago, they started Hudson instead of Mulder or Zito against the Twins, and Twins has a predominantly left-handed lineup that beat the A's.
There is ball 1 to Nick Punto.
See, I think this is a point where I think you have to either go out and settle him down and say, look, start all over, because he seems to get in a rut sometimes right at the beginning of a ball game, and it only takes him a pitch or two to get back on track. That's what you need to do. Throw some breaking balls, throw some change-ups. Just stay away from the fastball until you feel like he has it under control.
Luis Castillo is the Twins' base-stealing leader, but he's been slowed down a little bit in the second half of the year with a sore knee. Nonetheless, Zito makes a throw over there. Punto's pretty good hit-and-run man.
Yeah, well, the Twins do a lot of things. The Twins, you know, they'll hit and run, they'll bunt, they'll steal a base. They do a lot of different things to manufacture runs.
1-1 to Punto. And Zito is high again with the fastball. When you talk fastball with Zito, it's a relative term when you compare it to Santana, because that fastball is not very fast by Santana's standards.
But again, I think you need to throw a few more change-ups, maybe more curveballs, because you can just spin the curveball and get a strike.
2-1 the count. Well, Punto helped him out, chasing that high fastball. 2-2.
Well, again, that's the problem that he seems to have early in the ball game. but he gets a lot of help here. That ball's way out of the strike zone.
So Punto in his first postseason, and the excitement may have gotten the best of him there. There goes Castillo. That one is too high. Kendall's throw. He's out. Mark Ellis took the throw.
And that's one thing that Jason Kendall has done pretty well lately, is he's made good, accurate throws to second base. Well, not a good jump at first base by Castillo, and a good throw, accurate throw by Kendall, and that's one out.
So 1 out, nobody on. 3-2 the count. Punto boots it into right field, but there is Bradley. 2 down.
And let's see if Barry Zito can start all over again. By that I mean no one's on base. Let's start all over again and see what happens.
And a standing ovation for the St. Paul native. He's a local guy. He's the first catcher in the history of the American League to win a batting championship. Here's Joe Mauer, 23-year-old budding superstar. And what a year he had. He hit .347. Another guy who hit a lot of home runs, though. 13 homers, 36 doubles, 4 triples, 84 runs batted in.
Well, that's what happens with young guys, John. You learn to be a hitter first, and then the power will come.
And the curveball from Zito in there for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike to Mauer. Now you're into the Twins' power. Mauer, Kadire, Morneau, and I say power advisedly. That's right to the second baseman, Ellis. And it turns into a very strong inning for Barry Zito as well.
And a good job for Zito to match Santana.
Frank Thomas, the big hurt coming up against Santana. There's a Santana fan and a Kirby Puckett fan alongside each other upstairs here at the Metrodome. And there's Johan Santana to face Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas, who's had some success with him, including this year. He hit a home run against him in Oakland back on June the 2nd. So here's the big hurt against Santana. And there's ball one. Here's that home run back in June, Joe.
Well, one of the places you stay away from with Frank Thomas is down, even though that's where the target was. It was down and middle in, and Frank Thomas hit it over the center field wall. So you have to stay away from that. Up and in is where you want to go if you're going to go inside with the fastball on Frank Thomas. Yeah, I want to revisit that first inning. Barry Zito was struggling. Punto helped him out swinging at a 2-1 pitch over his head. Then they threw Castillo out. They helped Zito get out of that inning by running in that situation. There are times to run, and I don't think that was the time to do it. When a guy is struggling, you let him work his way out of the jam. You don't help him out. And I thought that's what the Twins did there. Maybe a little too over-aggressive.
Zito got out of it nicely. 2-1 to Thomas. Change up in the dirt, and it is 3-1.
But you're going to find that Santana's always going to be careful with Thomas because he knows that he can hurt him, as he did in the game on June 2nd. But the respect that Frank Thomas has around the league changes a pitching pattern of any pitcher, not just Santana.
That ball is hit deep. Down the left field line into the corner. Goes White. That ball is a home run. And the Athletics have gone ahead 1-0. And I thought it was a changeup, Joe.
Well, it was a changeup. He wasn't giving in, but the mistake he made, he got it pretty much out over the plate. And Frank thought it was a fastball, too, but that forced him to pull it because he went out to get it. And he pulled it right down the line. Well, I told you he wasn't going to get into Frank. It's 3-1 is the count. And there it is, a changeup, and it's out over the plate, and Frank just, he was fooled a little bit, but he kept his bat back. And he was able to keep it fair down the left field line. It didn't hook. That's why the ball stayed, fair. It did not have any hook on it.
So Frank Thomas, in his first postseason with Oakland, homers against the Twins for the first run of the game. And there is a strike to Chavez. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, Thomas, he has been battling the Twins for a long time when he was with the White Sox. For several years, they were the White Sox battling the Twins for the top spot in the Central Division. And while most of the time until last year, it was the Twins who always seemed to get the better of Frank Thomas's White Sox. So it's 2-1 now to Chavez. And that slider is in there for a strike. Now, we talked to Ken Maka, Oakland manager before the game, again, about Chavez, who had a very poor year and all the injury problems he had. But Maka did point out, he said, you know, the last 2-3 weeks, the ball is coming off his bat just like the old days. He's swinging a lot better than he was. 2-2 the count to Chavez. Only 22 home runs for him this year, only a .241 average. And Maka was quick to point out that this Gold Glover at third base helped the A's win a lot of ball games just with his glove, even when the bat was not there. Hey, struck him out.
Now that's Santana at his best there. Slider away, fastball away, and then he strikes him out with a good fastball in under the hands. And lefty was away, and then he throws him a fastball in under the hands, and it's see you later. You can see how late he was. He swung underneath it because he was late.
Now Jay Payton. And that's a foul off to the right, a fastball away. Now you mentioned Jay Payton, and Mark Ellis has been a couple of guys that could be keys for the A's today.
Well, the reason I say that they're two completely different type hitters. You can't set Jay Payton up. He goes out, he's a swinger. He goes up there and lets it fly. Ellis will control what he does at the plate a little better. See, I mean, Payton, you throw it, he swings. That's why I say you can't really set him up, and he's a good hitter. I mean, he's a very good hitter.
So it's kind of a basic game.
Yeah,
with Payton.
With Payton, hey, you throw it, I swing. Let's see what happens. Mark Ellis is a little more control. He handles whatever you're doing to him. If you're getting out with a changeup, he makes adjustments.
Payton has not had a hit against Santana. That slider blowing inside for a ball, and it is 1-2.
And Maka said he was teasing him about that. It usually works, he says, when he teases him about some guys that he has not hit well, and he was teasing him about Santana, and he says, well, let's see what happens today. That's Jay Payton's fault.
Fastball popped up, foul again. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Aaron Andrews. We're indoors at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome in Minneapolis. The Twins, who came charging hard at the end and won the American League Central, facing the Western Division champion Athletics. We're in the top of the second inning. We've got Cy Younger Johan Santana facing the Oakland A's. Barry Zito himself, a former Cy Young Award winner. That changeup is blooped into center field, and that's a base hit for Payton. So he could not put him away, and finally Payton dunks one in here in the same inning where Frank Thomas hit a changeup for a home run for the only run of the game.
Well, he tried to put him away with a couple of high fastballs away. He couldn't. That was a changeup, and it was a good changeup. The ball was down, but Payton going back through the middle just gets enough on it to hit it into center field.
So what was it that Ken Maka said to Payton to inspire him to get a hit against Santana for the first time in his career?
Yeah, well, he says you haven't ever had a hit. He said, let's see what you can do. And he said he's kind of teased him about it, and Payton said, hey, let's see what happens today. And so far, he's 1 for 1. He's been able to show him that, hey, I can get a base hit.
He was 0 for 11 in the past against Santana. That's a strike to Nick Swisher.
That's one of the things I say all the time about managers. You know, Ken Maka and Ron Gardenhire, these are two of the best managers in all of baseball, but they're not, you know, given that elite status. But they're excellent baseball managers.
Swisher, a power hitter, right center. Torrey Hunter is acting like he doesn't see it, but he gets over there and makes the catch. He had the palms up as he was going after it, as if to say, anybody have any idea where this one is?
He has played here so long and been so great, he very rarely loses the ball here. And it is a tough ceiling here because the ball is actually the same color as the ceiling when it goes up there. You have to find it. Very rarely are you able to take your eyes off the ball and then go back and find it. But Torrey Hunter's been able to do that on some of the great catches he's made in the alleys here.
Looked like he was saying a little prayer.
I think he was just deking him. I think he wanted, you know, Jay Payton to think that he didn't see the ball and take off a little bit.
Well, he did cross himself after, as if to say, Lord, if you could give me a little help here. Nick Swisher is gone, and the batter is Marco Scutaro. With the injury to Bobby Crosby, the regular Oakland shortstop, Scutaro became a very important figure. And you see that 266 average. At the time they moved him in there to play every day, that average was only 228, so he really had a strong finish for Oakland. He whacks that one down the left field line. Rondell White giving chase. Up against the wall. Coming to third. Payton being waved home. Here comes Bartlett. He'll hold the relay, and Payton scores. Oakland has 2 runs home.
And there you see the speed that the A's added, helping them right there. Jay Payton, a very fast runner, was able to score from first base on this double, whereas a lot of other runners would not be able to score on it. High changeup, and Scutaro hits it down the line. They were playing him the other way. Rondell White gets the ball back in, but you can see how fast Payton is coming around the bag, and he scores easily.
2-0 Oakland.
You know, when we talked about this series, everyone was saying that Santana can dominate this team, and he still can. But by the same token, these A's have been playing great baseball. They've got a lot of guys that are chipping in. They haven't relied on 1 or 2 players. Everyone has been chipping in.
Here's Mark Ellis. 2 down, 2 in, and there's ball 1 to Ellis. Now, you mentioned Ellis and Payton as you thought a couple of key guys for the Athletics, and already Payton has gotten himself a single and scored a run, but you didn't mention Scutaro.
No, well, Scutaro has played well too.
You don't appreciate
But I wasn't going to mention the whole lineup.
You don't like
the whole lineup has played well. That's the key. I mean, I think Oakland, they've had a different hero every day.
But you made a special point, Payton and Ellis. What about Scutaro?
Well, I'll give
you
Scutaro
overlooked
some
Scutaro.
kudos. Yeah, I guess I did. Maybe Santana did too.
Well, maybe he did. Maybe that's the point. It wasn't just a base hit by Scutaro. He ripped that ball for a double. Yeah. Marco Scutaro. You know, in case you're having a hard time placing the name. That's high and tight. That spins Ellis around. Ellis has also never had a hit against Santana. The Athletics, as a team, have struggled. You see, Ellis in particular has really struggled. One of the worst batting averages in the league this year. In these kind of clutch at bats with a runner at second or third or both. There's a runner at second here. Marco Scutaro. And he blows a fastball by.
Good fastball there. But again, he throws a lot of changeups, sliders, and off-speed pitch. So when he turns the fastball loose, I mean, it gets there in a hurry, and you're just not prepared for it. You have to wait a split second longer on his release to make sure it's not a changeup or a slider, and when he lets the fastball go, that makes it that much faster getting to you.
Santana, high-stress inning. This is his 25th pitch of the inning. Changeup. He struck him out. But 2 runs in the inning, starting with Frank Thomas' home run on a changeup. The first postseason home run by Frank Thomas since 1993 against Toronto. It's ball 1 to Michael Kadire, the cleanup hitter for the Twins, as we go to the last of the second. With Oakland leading 2-0. Fastball off the fist fouled, but he cracked his bat in that one, so Kadire will get a new one. The power is up. You got Kadire, the cleanup hitter, then Justin Morneau and Torrey Hunter to follow. And Joe, when you look at some of the big hitters in this lineup, like Mauer, Kadire, and Morneau, all young guys. Mauer 23, Kadire, the cleanup hitter, 27, Morneau 25. And that big curveball, a slow curve in for a strike. 1-2.
Well, I think that the Twins let Barry Zito off the hook, and as I said, it only takes 1 pitch here or there to get him in the groove. And when they let him off the hook by getting the runner thrown out, swinging at a high fastball when they were ahead in the count, and now the 2-run lead definitely helps him.
And the high fastball, Kadire swings and misses. 1 away.
Well, the real point is, when a guy's in trouble, you know, stealing a base at that time, I think, was just wrong. The guy was throwing a lot of high fastballs. That's almost like a pitch out. It gave Kendall a perfect pitch to throw, and that would have been 3-2. It would have been ball 4 if he hadn't swung at the high 2-1 pitch. The point is, I think you have to make the pitcher work out of the jam. You don't help him out of the jam, and they did so. Now they may find that they're going to have a problem with Zito, because all it takes is 1 good inning or 1 good batter for him to find his groove, and he can definitely match Santana the rest of the way.
Crowd chanting MVP for Justin Morneau, but he rolls one to Mark Ellis, and that is out number 2. So he has gotten through the big sluggers in the order very handily. Mauer grounded out to win the first. Kadire has struck out here, and Now Morneau has rolled one. And Morneau, what a year he had. 321 batting average, 34 homers, 130 batted in. This is what they had forecast for him, Joe. They thought he was going to be a great one. But it didn't happen last year, and it wasn't happening early this year either.
Well, Torrey Hunter is another guy that's been really hot down the stretch. He hit 16 home runs in his last 40 at bat.
He's very aggressive, as always, chasing that changeup. He grounds out to Marco Scutaro. And that was an 8-pitch inning for Zito. Zito and the Athletics are in control. Zito has been quieted down considerably by the Athletics, who lead 2-0 as we start the third. And leadoff man, Jason Kendall, takes a called strike from Johan Santana. They kind of shocked the crowd here, did the Athletics, with their 2-run second inning rally against Santana. Frank Thomas hit a home run for the first run. Jay Payton singled, and then Marco Scutaro is the guy who hit a double with 2 outs to bring Payton home, as the count is quickly 0-2 to Kendall.
Well, the A's have done everything they needed to do to make this a good ball game. They've taken the crowd out by scoring first, and they have a 2-run lead for their ace, Barry Zito.
And the slider strikes him out. Kendall has struck out both of his at-bats. The Major League Baseball Division Series, presented by Budweiser, will continue right after this game on ESPN, as Albert Pujols and the Cardinals will take on Mike Piazza and the Padres at Petco Park, game 1 of their series. And then tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, Fox will bring you game 1 of the Tigers and the Yankees from Yankee Stadium. Cardinals Padres also available in high definition on ESPN HD. Chris Carpenter, Jake Peavy in that one. Tonight at Yankee Stadium, Nate Robertson for Jim Leland's Tigers up against Chin Ming Wong, the other 19-game winner in the American League. Katse fouls one back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. 1 out, nobody on here in the third. Chris Carpenter, he was the National League Cy Young winner last year up against Jake Peavy. Peavy's numbers are not very good, but it is kind of deceiving because he had some injury problems and finished the year very strongly. 2-1 the count to Katse. He struck out his first time. And the count now 2-2 to Katse. Bradley on deck. Mark Katse, 1,284 regular season games, playing into his first postseason game. Jason Kendall, over 1,500 before he got here today. And half swing, and he fought that one off to stay alive. Here's Kendall.
Well, it tells you how good a stuff Santana has today. I mean, he struck Kendall out twice, and Kendall's one of the toughest in the league to strike out, and he's missing badly. I mean, he's got good stuff. He made a mistake. I won't even say it was a mistake. Frank Thomas hit a home run, and then with 2 outs, Scutaro got a double. I don't think they were really big mistakes. There was one that Scutaro was a mistake, is a changeup up.
And the changeup strikes him out. Both Kendall and Katse have struck out twice.
I mean, he's got 6 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings. So he's got great stuff. Changeup, I mean, it's not the location there that fools Katse, it's the speed of the pitch. Because the ball got a lot of the plate, but he was so far out in front, had no chance.
Milton Bradley, that's a called strike on the inside. Bradley grounded a short his first time. Well, 6 strikeouts, all swinging, which tells you something, too.
Well, one of the things to look for, and we're noticing here, is both of these left-handers will start hitters off with changeups. He just started Bradley off with a changeup. We saw Zito start Torrey Hunter off with a changeup. See, that's something that you don't see a lot of, hitters being challenged on the first pitch with a changeup instead of a fastball.
Changeup, 1-2.
And he really got a little extra on that, and he gave it a lot of, he gave him a lot of motion. He ended up falling up way off to the third base side. That's when you're really selling it.
Frank Thomas would be next. The fastball, a broken background ball to Bartlett. And that's the inning. Now stay tuned. When we come back, we'll visit with Minnesota manager Ron Gardenhire from the Twins dugout. Back with Ron Gardenhire in 60 seconds. Film in Minneapolis, 2-0. Oakland ahead. Last of the third coming up. And welcome to Ron Gardenhire, the Minnesota manager from the Twins dugout. Ron, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, my pleasure.
Hey, Ron, it looked like you guys had Zito on the ropes. He was a little erratic there. Punto swung at a high pitch out of the strike zone. Then Castillo got thrown out, and that kind of let him off the hook.
Yeah, he was up in the zone a little bit, and Nicky chased. And Castillo, he's a green light guy. I think he thought that a breaking ball was coming and decided to take a chance. And obviously it was another high fastball, and he got thrown out. But that's the way we play. We're going to attack. We're going to keep attacking as best we can. We're going to swing at some, and we're going to get thrown out some. But overall, we're going to make some good base running plays, and we're going to hit some of those high balls, hopefully, and score some runs.
It looks like Santana's throwing well.
Yeah, Santana's got good stuff. He's got a good changeup. I think Frank hit a changeup that he left up a little bit, and then Scudero blooped one down the left field line on us. So we're okay. Santana's flipping it pretty good.
All right, thanks.
Okay, guys.
Many thanks to Ron Gardenhire, the manager of the Minnesota Twins, coming out live between innings with us. And here's a called strike to Rondell White, 34-year-old veteran, playing left field. And look at those numbers. Not very good, but he had an injury plagued first half, missed a lot of time, and really came on strong after the All-Star break.
Well, the one thing I got out of listening to Gardenhire there, and I think Twins fans should understand, he says, we are aggressive. We're going to do some things. We're going to get some guys thrown out. We're going to swing at some high fastballs. He said, but hopefully we're going to hit some of those high fastballs. So what he's saying is the Twins are an aggressive group of guys, and that's the way they play. And sometimes it's not going to work out. Other times it will. And it definitely didn't work out there in the first inning.
1-2 the count to White from Barry Zito. And he chases one aggressively. There's Milton Bradley. And one away.
And that was another high fastball. But I think there's a calmness I see in Zito now that I didn't see at the beginning of the ball game. You see that pitch is up and away, and Rondell's just making contact there, not an aggressive swing. But he just seems to be a little more composed out there now than he was at the beginning of the ball game when he was erratic and up in the zone.
Phil Nevin. And that's a ball to Nevin. Nevin, who's been with some different teams this year. He's made a tour around the big leagues this season. Nevin was with Texas. Then he went to the National League with the Cubs, and then finally with the Twins. Now he's in the postseason. And that is out number 2 as Nevin bounces one back to Zito.
2 changeups in a row. He started him off with a changeup. He missed and came back with another one. And again, you rarely see left-handed pitchers do that a lot. Start right-handers off with a straight change.
Barry Zito, only 28 pitches thrown. He had an 8-pitch second inning. And here is Josh Bartlett. Bartlett is one of the guys who helped turn the Twins season around. He shows bunt, takes a called strike. He was sent down to the minor leagues as Ron Gardenhire said, you're not showing us what you need to show us. You're not into the game enough. And he taps that one foul off to the left. He says he's kind of a laid-back personality anyway. But basically, he told him, he says, you'll be back here if you start showing us that you're going to be into this enough to get back here. Well, Bartlett came back, and they were not getting the same sort of energy out of shortstop. And when Bartlett came back, he said he was a new guy, doing everything that Gardenhire said they needed him to do, which was not happening before.
Well, on all good teams, your middle infielders are your guys that bring energy to the game. And he was saying that Bartlett was playing okay, but he wasn't bringing the energy that he wanted.
So the count now to Bartlett, 2-2. And really one of the things that turned the Twins around, not only Bartlett coming in at short, but Nick Punto eventually settled in at third base. Gave them a lot more range, athleticism on that side of the infield, improved their defense considerably. They both did a great job offensively, too. But right now, Barry Zito is shutting down that offense. Frank Thomas, who homered his first time, is coming up when we come back. Athletics. A little bit later, the National League Division Series begins. The Cardinals at the Padres on ESPN. It's Frank Thomas, and he belts another one. Down the left field line, into the corner, hooking, and a foul ball home run. Wow. I thought I was looking at a replay there, Joe, for a second.
Well, let's take a look at the first at bat and see how he got to that same swing. Fastball in. He was trying. You watch the fastball's all going to be in. He's trying to come inside with the fastball. Now there's a changeup low. Comes back with another changeup, and he gets it middle of the plate, about belt high, and Frank hits it out of the ballpark.
He hit it out of the park just there. There's a fastball too high. This time looked like he got a similar kind of a pitch, and he almost did the same thing to that one.
Well, Santana believes in his changeup, and he should. But he was trying to make a good pitch with it, get the ball down, and he didn't.
A fastball to the right field. And there is Cadillo.
Well, you can see Todd crank up with that fastball. That's what they're trying to do every time he throws him a fastball. He's trying to get it belt high and above in. And he was able to get this one in. Watch the swing that Frank Thomas takes on this fastball. He's late on it. It's in, and you see him just kind of fight it off. He kind of pulls his hands in a little bit just right there. You see his front arm bent. He's just trying to fight it off, and he can't fight that one off.
And a strike swinging by Chavez into the 0-1. Chavez struck out in the second inning, and he's having a hard time making contact, to say the least. 6 strikeouts for Santana already.
This is the pattern he used in the first inning: slider away, and then a fastball in under the hands. High fastball.
And another strikeout.
Well, I mean, he's throwing great, but he's trailing 2-0. I mean, a high fastball. He struck him out with a high fastball the first time up, and he goes up the ladder, this time even higher. The other one was just under the hands inside. That one's just high and out of the strike zones. There you see he struck out more ladders than any other pitcher in team history.
In the postseason, Jay Payton, and that's a very quiet inning, a 7-pitch inning for Santana that included a strikeout. Top of the order, Castillo, Punto, Joe Mauer coming up. There's a Joe Mauer fan here at the Metrodome. In fact, there's 55,000 Joe Mauer fans here today. The Athletics, though, leading Joe Mauer's Twins 2-0 as we go to the last of the 4th inning. Barry Zito has shut down the Twins. There's Luis Castillo, the only Twin to reach base against him. He bluffs the bunt, takes high for ball 1. He walked starting the first inning, and then Zito fell behind Nick Punto, the next hitter, who was missing badly, missing up out of the strike zone. And there he's been throwing up all day.
Well, he got away with it the second and third innings because he was getting ahead in the count, and then the hitters chased. But it's interesting because remember Gardenhire said that Castillo thought it was going to be a curveball. Well, that's true. That's okay. But if you're a base stealer,
2-0 and very badly high again, 3-0.
You have to realize that they're not going to throw a lot of breaking balls with you on first base, because the catcher, the only way he's going to have a chance of throwing you out is calling fastballs. So he's going to call the fastball, and you have to realize that. But that's also how you help the hitter behind you, because the hitter behind you knows he's going to get fastballs with a base stealer at first base. So you have to work together. But you can't anticipate a guy throwing a curveball because they're going to come after you with a fastball.
And he's too low with that one. He has walked Castillo twice. Here's the game track presented by Intel. Santana started off beautifully. He struck out first Jason Kendall, and then Mark Kotze, the first 2 batters he faced. But in the second inning, the big hurt, the first pitch that really put the hurt into the Twins, a changeup for a home run. His first postseason homer in 13 years. Barry Zito, meanwhile, he got off the hook in that first inning, and he's been on top of the Twins ever since. Here's Punto. He pushes a bump, first base side. Switcher out at first. I would like to see what the call would have been if he'd gone through the bag standing up, Joe.
Well, we can never seem to impress upon, players that running through the bag gets you there quicker than diving. But it's an excellent bunt, and it's a nice play. I mean, you have to give the A's credit for turning that play. Good job by Mark Ellis to get over to first base in time. But you see, when he's diving, you're in the air. You're not running. And so he was thrown out at first base. But again, he got the runner over, so that's what you're trying to do.
Sacrifice bunt for Punto, and a standing ovation for Joe Mauer, the hometown favorite. from nearby St. Paul. The Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. The ballpark is in Minneapolis. And Zito with a breaking ball for a strike on the outside. Mauer grounded to second, his first time.
Interesting, he started Mauer off with a curveball. His first at bat starts him off with a curveball here. Then he jammed him with a fastball.
Joe Mauer, 347 batting average this year.
Same
Inside.
pattern. And that's what you have to remember as a hitter, or you watch from the bench. I mean, he threw a curveball first pitch for a strike last time up. Then he came inside with a fastball. He jammed him and hit a ground ball at second base. That works for Zito. So he threw him the same pitch, came back with a fastball in, but he missed.
Kendall dropping the signs with a runner at second. Castillo inside and high. 2-1. The cleanup hitter, Kadire on deck, 109 RBIs, and Morneau, an MVP candidate, behind him.
It's kind of hard to sit there in the batter's box in this pitch and say, I'm going to look for a curveball or a changeup, because he has such a great curveball. You can look for it and still can't hit it. But he's erratic with his fastball, so he's having more success with his breaking ball. There it is.
And Mauer, sure enough, swung at it. He is thrown out by Ellis as Castillo takes third.
I mean, when as a hitter, you sit there and you see he's having trouble with his fastball. I can't get it where I want. So what do? You got to go back to something else. But it's hard as a hitter to sit there and you got a 2-1 count. He just threw you 2 fastballs, and you say, I'm going to look for a changeup or breaking ball away. It's just too hard a thing to do. But if you're able to do that sometimes, you know, you can handle it. And that was exactly what he did.
You saw those numbers there. The numbers for Zito, the times he's been out of the strike zone, belie the domination that he is showing over the Twins. That pitch now makes his 44th pitch of the game. He's thrown as many out of the strike zone as in.
Well, they've helped him out a lot, John. They've swung a lot of pitches out of the strike zone.
So really, he's thrown even more out of the strike
more
zone.
out.
Because if they swing at it, wherever it is, we count that as a strike.
I mean, they swung a lot of pitches out of the zone. But, you know, as Gardenhire said, that's their makeup. They're aggressive, they swing the bat, they attack the ball, and it's been very successful, and he expects for it to be successful today.
Kadire, 24 homers, and he hits one off the end of the bat to left field, and there is Payton, and the inning is over. Great change up there from Zito in a 2-0 count. Leadoff walk, the runner stranded. Nick Swisher coming up for Oakland, 2-0 Oakland. Nick Swisher will lead off for the Athletics, who are leading 2-0 as we start the 5th inning from the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And they got through to Johan Santana on a day where he's had 7 strikeouts in the first 4 innings, but they got to him for 2 in the second. Swisher, one of the Athletics' big power hitters this year, 25 years old. He hit 35 homers with 95 batted in during the season, but he hits 7th in the order. Barry Zito, 4 innings, only 46 pitches thrown. Santana had to throw more. And there at first base, Justin Morneau, and Swisher is 0 for 2. Barry Zito, and it's interesting, Joe. I mean, it's almost like he's using the Twins' aggressive nature against them.
Well, I think it's turned out that way, John. I don't think he went into the ball game thinking that. I think maybe Kendall and he have decided to do that from the 2nd inning on. But in the 1st inning, he's had problems like that, as I said before, and that was just a typical Barry Zito kind of 1st inning. But he was able to get out of the jam. And then after that, I think you may be right. He and Kendall have asked for the high fastball.
Scudero hit one sharply, and Santana was able to handle it. Quite a play there by Santana. That one almost knocked him over.
Well, it's far more difficult to catch a ground ball, although that one didn't hit the AstroTurf or the artificial turf. It hit the dirt and bounced right up to him. But it's very difficult. But if you watch Santana until he throws the really good changeup, he's in good fielding position. When he throws the changeup, he will fall off to the third base side a lot more. You can't detect that in his release, but you can see it in his follow-through.
Now Mark Ellis, the 9th place hitter, he struck out his first time. 2 down, nobody on. Fastball, strike 1 call. Frank Thomas hit a home run in the 2nd. And Marco Scudero later doubled home Jay Payton, who had singled. It was a 2-run rally for Oakland, and they still lead 2-0 here in the top of the 5th. And there is Castillo. And it's another very quick inning for Santana. 5-pitch inning. He's retired 10 in a row. When we come back, we'll visit with manager Ken Maka from the Oakland dugout. 60 seconds. Big crowd at the Metrodome, but the Athletics are in control right now, leading 2-0 back of Barry Zito. And we're very happy to be joined by the very fine manager of the Athletics, Ken Maka. Ken, welcome. Thank you.
All right. Ken, you guys have been able to take the crowd out of the game, so to speak, by scoring first. And all of a sudden, Barry Zito seems to be in control after the tough first inning.
Well, I tell you what, you walked the leadoff hitter and fell behind Punto. And I think the big play of the game so far was Jason Kendall caught stealing. Really give Barry a fresh breath of fresh air and got him rolling. But you're talking about taking the crowd out of the game. That's not going to happen here until you get the last out in the 9th inning, because this is a loud crowd. As soon as they get something started, everybody was standing up.
All right, things seem to be going well for you, so good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Many thanks to Ken Maka for coming on between innings. I always want to assure every manager that comes on with us that we're going to let him go before the first pitch. Let him get right back to work.
Well, John, one universal thought here is that the caught stealing by Castillo was a big play, even though he thought it was going to be a curveball. And a lot of people think you steal bases all the time. I think there are times when you do not steal a base. And that was one of those times when I would not have wanted him to go, when the guy's struggling on the mound.
Here's the Twins' big slugger, Justin Morneau, batting with the bases empty. He lunges at a curveball. Left center, pretty deep. And Katze, he's got it. What a play by Mark Katze just before he slammed into the wall.
And John, it was a lot, as we all said before, it's a lot tougher here to be able to run, take your eyes off the ball, find the spot you're going to, and then find it again. So that was a far more difficult play than it looked like. Looks like it's a little change up away. Morneau hits it pretty well, but you can see that Katze gets right underneath the ball. Just excellent. He tracks it down and makes a fine play. Jay Payton there to help him out.
Here is Torrey Hunter, who takes a called strike. Torrey Hunter, in some ways, had his best year this year, even though he spent some time in the disabled list. 31 homers he had, the career best, 98 runs batted in. Still a pretty good center fielder.
Definitely. But you see what he did there? He didn't even stride, because he's seeing that Barry Zito is throwing a lot of changeup. He was just going to stay back and make sure he didn't lunge at that one.
And then he swings at the big curveball. 1-2. There's that catch by Katze.
And you see, he looks away, finds the wall, and then he's able to find the ball again. That's why it was a tough play. And Barry Zito says, nice going. But I expect you to do that. Ooh, change up right there.
Shallow right center. Katze. A little easier time with that one. And there are 2 men gone.
And we've seen Zito throw him, started him off with a changeup both at bats, meaning Torrey Hunter. He's been able to get him out. And this is a good pitch for Torrey to hit. It's a changeup. Well, it's a curveball, actually, but it stays right in the middle of the plate, belt high, and he missed it. And I know he's upset with that. That was a good pitch to hit.
Rondell White, and that's ball 1. White flied out to right his first time. There has not been a hit in the game since the 2-out double by Marco Scutaro knocked in the second Oakland run in the 2nd inning. That is a changeup into the gap in right center. Milton Bradley plays it off the baggie. And Rondell White has a stand-up double, the first hit of the game for the Twins.
Well, 2 things are happening here. When you sit on the bench and you watch Johan Santana, you watch how effective he is with his changeup. You want to use a changeup, and I think Barry has fallen in love with his a little bit there. He's thrown a lot of changeup the last inning and a half, and the hitters are starting to look for the changeup, and Rondell White takes that changeup and rifles it to right center field. It's okay to use the changeup, but you can't fall in love with it unless you have one like Santana, who can throw it on any pitch, anytime. There's another one. Yeah, another off-speed pitch.
1 ball and no strikes. Bill Nevin, the hitter, and he's got a lot of power. He's the possible tying run. 22 home runs this year. He's been in the big leagues more than 10 years, playing today in his first postseason game. Jason Kendall, 11 years in the major leagues, playing his first postseason game. That's called a strike on the inside. Also later today, Carlos Delgado with the Mets and Steve Traxel with the Mets. who've had more than 10 years in the big leagues, will be playing their first postseason games. Damian Easley has the most Major League service time among current players who have never appeared in a postseason game. Easley ended up the year with Arizona. The curveball got him to chase it.
But well, I think what is happening is they see that Barry Zito doesn't have good control of his fastball. And they know that he's either going to throw a changeup or a curveball. They're looking for something off speed. The unfortunate thing about that is when you look for a curveball, you swing at it. You know, even if it bounces or whatever it does, if you're going to sit there and look for a curveball, you're going to swing at it.
So is he going to throw him another one?
Well, he's having trouble with his fastball, but he's been able, if you get 2 strikes, he's been able to exploit them by going upstairs with the fastball. There is another one.
That one almost a wild pitch. That's a pretty good save there by Jason Kendall.
Hey, even he couldn't swing at that one. I mean,
that almost hit him in the foot.
Yeah. But the one thing that he's done when he's gotten ahead, he can throw the high fastball and they will help him out. They may take the high fastball with 1 strike or no strikes, but they're not going to take it with 2 strikes.
Runner at second, 2 down. Fastball popped up.
He didn't get it up where he wanted it, but he had him behind it.
Nick Swisher makes the catch. 1 man left, onto the 6th. Kendall, Kotze, Milton Bradley coming up. Oakland leads 2-0. Cruz from the Metrodome in Minneapolis, and here is Johan Santana throwing ball 1 inside to Jason Kendall. Kendall, after all of those years without ever being in the postseason, in his first postseason game today, but he has struck out twice against Santana. And that fastball lifted to center, right to Torrey Hunter. And 1 away. That's 11 in a row retired by Santana.
Johnny, he's had 4 of the 5 innings he's retired days in order, 1, 2, 3, except the second inning when he gave up the 2 runs. But every other inning it's been 1, 2, 3.
And for his opposite number, Barry Zito, I mean, Zito, at least so far, looks like he could go deep into this game. And he's only thrown 59 pitches in 5 innings, and Twins have only 1 hit against him. 0-1 the count to Mark Kotze. Is Zito. He finally allowed a hit in that 5th inning. Kotze has not yet hit the ball. He struck out twice in his first postseason. And the high fastball, he can't catch up to it. 0-2.
I mean, very rarely, you know, if ever, do you see a pitcher with so many weapons and he can throw strikes with them. I mean, all of his pitches are out pitches.
0-2. And he hits the fastball through the middle. Pretty good hitting right there by Kotze. A ball in on his fists, and he hit it back through the middle for a base hit. Milton Bradley comes up now. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews for more on Milton Bradley.
John, there was a lot of talk in the beginning of the season how Milton Bradley and even Frank Thomas would do in this A's clubhouse. A lot of people thought, you know, sometimes they're considered a cancer. Both of them have had problems in the past, and I asked both of them, why have they been able to do so well this season? Milton Bradley credits Frank Thomas. He says, he's been a mentor to me. He has helped me, taken the pressure off, especially with the media.
To shortstop, Bartlett to second one, Castillo to first, 2, a double play. Frank Thomas is left standing on deck, and another quick inning for Santana despite the base hit by Kotze.
Nice turn by Castillo. He comes across, accurate throw.
Got some 6-inning rally caps have been spotted here at the Metrodome. Game 1 of the American League Division Series. The Athletics leading the Twins 2-0. Barry Zito has allowed only 1 hit in the game, but he has not been doing it in the conventional style. This is first ball swinging. Bartlett pops it up. The shortstop, Scutaro. 1 away. And they've been doing a lot of that. Swinging at pitches out of the strike zone.
Well, John, that's the theme of this. Let's take a look here. This is started in the very first inning. Punto up and out of the strike zone. Kadire up and out of the strike zone. Rondell White up and out of the strike zone. Torrey Hunter down out of the strike zone. Phil Nevin. I mean, they've been chasing a lot of pitches, and even that first pitch there to Bartlett was up and out of the strike zone. So Barry Zito is using their aggressiveness against him.
And a fastball strike to Luis Castillo. Castillo has reached base twice has taken 2 walks against Zito, but in the first inning, one of the big plays of the game, he ended up being thrown out trying to steal as Zito was struggling mightily. First off, Punto had a 2-1 count, and he swung at a pitch out of the strike zone, which we just saw. And instead of the count going to 3-1, it was 2-2. And the next pitch, Castillo tried to steal, and a pitch that was very high again, and he got thrown out.
And that high pitch is just like a pitch out because it gives the catcher a chance to stand up and just throw it. And again, you know, there are times to steal bases. I think you have to steal bases certain times during a game. But in my opinion, that wasn't the right time to even attempt it.
Zito's curve was in the dirt.
Yeah.
2 balls, 2 strikes to count.
And as Ron Gardner said, he didn't put the steal on. Castillo has the green light. He goes when he wants to, and he thought it was going to be a curveball.
Fastball into left center field. Base hit. Katze hustling over to cut it off, and he holds into a single. Castillo is on base for the 3rd straight time.
And a good job there by Katze to cut that off. I actually thought Castillo might try it, but down 2-0, he decided against it. So this is a long single for a good speedy base runner. It's in left center field, and Katze runs over. And remember this, Katze's left-handed, so he's running away from the play. He has to turn and throw back across his body. But Castillo, wisely, in his opinion, held up at first base.
And he does, keep in mind, Katze does have one of the strongest throwing arms in the American League. Has more than once led the league in outfield assists. First ball swinging, Punto pops it up to Ellis, out number 2. We're talking about back in the first inning, after Punto swung and missed at a 2-1 pitch, it was out of the strike zone. Here's what happened the next pitch.
Well, you see where the pitch was up. It's just like a pitch out. And it was very easy for Kendall to throw, but he had to still make the throw. But it gave him a chance to just stand up and throw the ball, which he did. And Castillo didn't get a good jump at first base anyway. So it was a big play. And again, you know, just I don't think it was the right time to make that move. But that's the way the Twins play, and Gardner wasn't upset. He said, that's the way we play.
That's the way they play.
Yeah.
It also did help Barry Zito through a troubling inning. And Joe Mauer tries to drop down a bunt. He's got the third baseman. Chavez was playing deep, but he bunted at it and missed it.
Well, he's been starting him off every at-bat. That's the 3rd time he started him off with the curveball. So he wanted to drop that one down, and, you know, not a bad play. I don't necessarily like it because you can hit a ball in the gap here with the artificial turf and score a run with 2 outs.
Curveball down and away. Well, he's got a guy who drove in 109 and is right-handed on deck. I guess that's what he was thinking, right?
I don't know if that's what he's, John. You led the league in hitting. You hit 347. You didn't just hit 347 against right-handed pitching. I mean, if he finds a gap here anywhere on this artificial turf, it'll go to the wall, and Castillo can score.
Zito is too low.
And he's feeding him a steady diet of off-speed pitches, curveballs, and that was change-ups, and so far, you see what Mauer has done with runners on.
Well, now keep in mind, Mauer, he hasn't been around as long as Kendall and Katze and Nevin and those guys who played their first postseason game finally today after 10, 11 years. But it is his first postseason game.
Right.
So that adrenaline may be pumping for him as well.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, when I talked to Nick Swisher today, he said, man, I'm a little nervous. I said, you should be. And I think you have to have that edge on you if you're going to play in the postseason. Everything is intensified now. You have to go out there with high intensity to play in the postseason and win. So I think it's good to be nervous.
3-1 the count. And he walks him. So for the first time, the Twins have 2 men on base, and they have their cleanup hitter who drove in 109 runs, Michael Kadire, coming up. It's game 1 of the American League Division Series from the Metrodome in Minneapolis. The Central Division champion Twins, the Western Division titleists, the Athletics. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Aaron Andrews. The Athletics jumped ahead with 2 in the second. Frank Thomas hit a changeup for a home run, and later in the inning, Marco Scutaro, a clutch 2-out RBI double to put Oakland ahead 2-0. The Twins have been shut down by Zito, but right now they got their best opportunity. Castillo at second. Mauer at first. The cleanup hitter Kadire at the plate. And a big curveball strike and it's 0-1.
Well, the one thing you have to do if you're Kadire here, you have to show a little patience, and he did there. But the one thing you can't do is go up there and say, I'm going to get a good fastball to hit. He's not going to give you a good fastball to hit. The fastball he's throwing is up and out of the zone. So you're going to have to handle his pitch and not necessarily the one that you want to swing at.
And he bluffs towards second. Ellis cutting in toward the bag. Castillo back. No throw, as you saw. Castillo at second. Mauer at first. Michael Kadire really blossomed this year. 24 homers, 41 doubles, 109 batted in. Got the fastball. The shortstop. He jammed it. And the foresight at second. Ellis covering with the throw from Scutero. And the inning is over.
Great pitch by Zito off the plate inside.
Frank Thomas is coming up. Aaron Andrews is here with us. 2-0 the Athletics ahead as we head into the late innings in the jam-packed Metrodome. The Athletics, I think, were a little uptight about playing day games indoor here, where it is even more difficult to follow a fly ball. There are more perils to playing in this weird ballpark in a day game. But so far, they've done just fine. Frank Thomas homered his first time. 1 ball and no strikes. And a fastball is in there for a strike. It was interesting. He hit a home run on a high changeup. And then the next time he was up there, the first pitch he saw was another off-speed pitch. And he almost hit that one out of the park. He started with something entirely different this time. And Frank Thomas punches it into right field. A base hit. The throw over to first base. And Thomas just didn't make it. Thomas is not running well. And Michael Kadire almost threw him out.
Well, I think Frank just said, well, there's a base hit. And he started trotting. And Kadire tried to, he gets it. It's perfect. 1 hop and a fire to first base. And Frank safe.
Yeah, he was there plenty of time.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Frank, out of the batter's box, he just thought, well, there's a base hit to right field.
Well, he's had all these foot problems, leg problems.
But he can get the first faster than that.
But here's Chavez. But they tell him, try not to do anything that will hurt you.
Yeah, well, his main strength to this, asset to this team is his bat. And, hitting the ball, swinging, not base running.
Larry Chavez, who struck out twice in this game. This could be 2. Bartlett bobbles it, and they'll get nobody. Even Big Frank is able to beat the play to second base. Wow. Now let's go to Carl Ravitch in the studio for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, John, potentially devastating news for the Mets. Willie Randolph says El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, scheduled for the Game 1 starter, hurt his calf while running today. He'll have an MRI, and they don't know if he can start. The Marlins, who finished 19 games behind the Mets, fired Joe Girardi, and in his place comes Freddie Gonzalez, who finished second to Girardi last year, and this year was the Braves' third base coach. SportsCenter follows the Padre game.
All right. But, man, that is really a downer for the Mets.
But, John, this is unusual. The Twins usually make all the routine plays and a lot of great plays. And that was a routine double play. And that's how you really get hurt in the postseason. You're already trading. Just a routine ground ball. I think he tried to make the transfer to second base too quickly, and you had some time. With Frank Thomas running, you're not going to have any pressure on the pivot man. And Eric doesn't run that well either, so just a real big mistake there.
Jay Payton, who has not had a sacrifice bunt all year, and he takes one very high, changeup missing, and now Mauer is going to go out and talk to Santana. One of the problems the Twins had early this year, the first couple of months when they were not winning. At one time, remember, they were 12.5 games out of first. And one of the problems was their defense was not very good. They had very little range on the left side, in particularly. And when they brought up Bartlett from the minors and also moved Punto over to third base, that's when their defense got so much better. Major League Baseball Division Series presented by Budweiser will continue. A little bit later, Albert Pujols and the Cardinals up against Mike Piazza and the Padres, Game 1 from San Diego. And at 8 o'clock Eastern, Fox will bring you the Tigers and Yankees Game 1 from Yankee Stadium. Chris Carpenter, Jake Peavy in San Diego, Nate Robertson, Chen-Ming Wong in New York. And Torrey Hunter, again, at first didn't seem to see that ball. He comes over and makes the catch in shallow right center.
John, something happened while we were away there that I think is worth mentioning. Bartlett came to the mound. They went to the mound to talk to Santana. Bartlett came in, which is unusual for a guy that just made an error. But guess what? He got there, and Santana patted him on the back as he was leaving, like, I'll pick you up, big fella. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you say, I'm going to pick you up. See right there? I mean, that shows you a little bit something right there about his mental toughness and how he thinks of the team. The guy just made a mistake behind you. You're just telling him, that's okay, I'll pick you up. And that's what great pitchers do. They do pick their players up.
Because that was a huge mistake. But it's a physical mistake.
Exactly. Exactly.
But that was a 2-out mistake.
Right.
It would have been 2 out, nobody on. The inning could be over right now. Here's Swisher. See, now, maybe I'm not quite as generous as Johan Santana.
Yeah, no, and most pitchers wouldn't be. That was my point. I mean, most pitchers, hey, what are you coming in here for? Catch the ball out there. But Bartlett did come in, and you saw him pat him on the back. I think that's one of the reasons that this Twins team is so good. They're very close-knit.
Nick Swisher, 35 home runs this year, but not very effective with runners in scoring position. And now Santana's behind him 2-0. He fell behind Peyton 2-0.
Well, this is what happens when you get in these tough situations. Now you have to make better pitches than you were making before. You know, I've always said I can pitch if nobody gets on base. When they get on base, that's when the great pitchers take over and get out of trouble, hold the damage to a minimum.
Santana trying to keep his club in the game. Change-up. 2-1.
That is an unbelievable weapon right there. I mean, 90% of the pitchers in the major leagues, 2-0, runners at first and second. You've got to come with something hard, either a fastball or a slider. And the hitter can hit either the fastball or the slider, something hard. Instead, he comes with the changeup. And not only is it a changeup, it's a low, down, and away changeup.
Sort of a rueful smile there by Swisher afterward. On the inside corner, the slider. Strike 2.
I mean, he throws you a changeup down and away, and now you're saying, well, he might do it again. What does he do? He throws you a slider on the inside part of the plate. And you see the target. There it is, right on the inside part. And now where do you go? If you're the hitter, you have no idea what he's going to do to you.
Frank Thomas, who is very slow at second. Chavez at first. 1 out. Changeup.
Nice move there by Swisher not to chase that pitch.
Wow.
I think he overthrows this one. Man. A lot of confidence to take that pitch. You see Mauer just stuck it out there. He didn't think it was too high.
And Swisher did walk 97 times this year. Most on the A's. 2 men on. Change up, and he walks him.
Good at bat by Swisher. Good pitching to get back to even by Santana, but he could not get another change up near the plate. Well, I shouldn't say near it. He couldn't get another swing from Swisher.
So Swisher coaxes the walk from him. And now the pitching coach, Rick Anderson, will go out and talk to Santana. And again, this is an inning that has happened because of an error on a double play ball. I don't know, the ball hit a seam or took a little tricky hop, whatever that had happened, or maybe Bartlett just hurried it a little bit too much. But now Santana's got the base loaded, 1 out, and this game could be hanging in the balance. And when you consider how important Santana is to the Twins, the whole series could be hanging in the balance right here.
Correct.
Tommy says, watch the postseason on ESPN. It's your duty, Judy. So that's a Tommy phrase or what?
I guess. I've never heard him say it, but hey.
I'm just quoting Tommy now. It's your duty, Judy.
Well, Judy is kind of a phrase used in the minor leagues, you know, talking about players and stuff. You know, people just, hey, Judy.
I think this is a phrase given to him by his old friend Cary Grant, the great movie star. There's ball one to Marco Scutaro. Now, Scutaro, again, who was overlooked by my partner Joe Morgan himself, talking about keys to this game, but he drove in a run with a double his first time, and now he's got a chance. Marco Scutaro's got a chance to maybe blow this game wide open. The infield double play deck. Into center, Torrey Hunter. He's got it. Frank Thomas is not coming. He pretended. Torrey fired into the cutoff man, Morneau.
Well, the Twins get two breaks there. One, that line drive was right at Torrey. If it's to the left or right where he has to run either way, they may still have been able to score Frank Thomas. The other break is obviously that Frank Thomas is at third and he can't score on this ball. But it's hit directly at him. See, he's coming full tilt straight ahead, and then he can throw the ball to the plate. If that ball's left or right where he's running at an angle, he would not be able to keep Frank from scoring. Even, you know, Frank not running as well as he did in the past, he still would not have been able to keep him from scoring if that ball's not directly at him.
So 2 down.
Well, I've been right on couple. I said Frank Thomas was the big key, but the little keys were Peyton and Mark Ellis. Well, I've been right 2 out of 3.
We didn't give you the big bucks to tell us Frank Thomas was a key.
Well, I know. I said he's the big key. Man, good fastball.
I think Santana is the key for the Twins.
Well,
is that the revelation?
Nah, but you got to say Mauer and Marno. Somebody there's got to do something. You can't win a nothing-to-nothing game.
Juan Rincon warming up in the bullpen. The bases are loaded, and Mark Ellis fouls one.
Man, this is what I like about Santana. He was struggling a little bit with his location on the changeup to Swisher and even to Scutaro. So what does he do? He just reaches back and comes after Mark Ellis, who's a very good hitter, even though he only hit 249 this year. Had a very good year last year, a lot of injuries this year, but he is a very good hitter.
0-2, everybody on their feet. The Metrodome is rocking with the bases loaded. Here comes. And maybe overthrowing a little bit on that one. 96 miles an hour, but nowhere close to the strike zone.
Well, I think that was also a setup pitch. He's thrown him 3 straight fastballs now. And we all know that he will drop the changeup or the slider on you.
Ellis 0 for 12 lifetime against Santana. And he backs out. Santana just started into his motion. Timeout was granted. Thomas at third. Chavez at second. Swisher at first. All ready to go on anything here. 20th pitch of the inning for Santana. 0-2 the count. The slider. Now it is 2-2. It was 1-2. I beg your pardon. Not 2-2. So that fastball, as you mentioned, was setting up the slider.
He was trying to get to. That was the pitch he wanted to make it happen on. But now he knows he has to make it happen here. You do not want to go to 3-2 and have all the runners moving.
Now it is 3-2.
And see what happens when you don't want all the runners moving, because now the force out is taken away from each base. And it makes it a tougher, puts more pressure on your infielders to field the ball cleanly and throw the guy out. You know, you can force a guy out on a regular ground ball. Now you can't do that because the runners will be in motion.
Thomas, Chavez, and Swisher are the runners from third back to first. And there they go. Fly ball. Rondell White moving laterally. Foul ground. Inning over. The Twins are still alive. Justin Morneau coming up. The Athletics had a chance to break it open with the bases loaded. 3-2 pitch, and you see the frustration, the anger from Mark Ellis as Johan Santana gets off the hook.
And he tells Bartlett, okay, big fella, I got you off the hook this time. Don't do it again.
Josh Bartlett with the big error on a double play ball, and that almost turned into a catastrophe for the Twins. Here's Justin Morneau leading it off against Barry Zito. Center field, but that's the wrong place to hit it in this ballpark. That is the big part of the yard, 408 feet, and room enough for Katse to grab that one. Morneau is 0 for 3.
I mean, we've talked a lot about Santana, and rightfully so, because he is overpowering. But guess what? Barry Zito is doing what he does best. He's mixing and matching. He's throwing some high fastballs that they're not able to handle. He's changing speeds. He's throwing curveballs and changeups, and he's keeping these hitters off balance.
Torrey Hunter. He thought about bunting there. Took it low, ball 1. That moved Chavez in a couple of steps from third base. You see Zito, 6 in the 3rd innings. He's only allowed 2 hits. Only 76 pitches thrown. Change up at the end of the bat. And waiting for it is Payton. That's a couple of guys hit that change up off the end of the bat out there to left field.
Well, his changeup is not as good as Santana's, but it's very good. And the reason that it may be in his best interest, because his changeup, they look like they can handle it. It looks like it's good to hit, and then they get just enough of it to make an out. Santana's a swing and miss, so he's got to throw another pitch. With Zito there, you see right there, he got him out with the changeup.
Rondell White, deep left field, way back there, way back, goodbye, home run.
John, remember Gardenhire said, well, we might hit some of those high fastballs. Well, in my opinion, only Rondell White and Torrey Hunter can handle that high fastball. And Rondell White shows you why he can handle it right here, but he's thrown Hunter a lot of changeups. He has not thrown him the high fastball.
Now Phil Nevin, big curveball, a strike. Nevin is at a comebacker, and he has popped up to first. On a day where the Twins have only 3 hits, Rondell White has a double and a homer.
Now watch, he gets out in front. It's a fastball up, and he handled it. It wasn't in. That's one of the few mistakes that he's made. He didn't get the ball in. It was supposed to be a fastball in. It was up, but it wasn't in.
And Nevin pops one up. Out is Ellis. Bradley coming in, but Ellis. And the inning is over. The Twins get 1. It's now a 1-run game. Rondell White hitting one out of the yard. 2-1 Oakland onto the 8th. From the Metrodome in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins trailing the Oakland Athletics 2-1. 8th inning, the top of the order for the Athletics coming up now. Jason Kendall. He takes ball 1 outside.
And John, there's a lot of similarities between these two organizations.
Fastball, high strike.
Starting with their managers. They're both very underrated. Neither one of them get a lot of publicity, Ken Mocker or Ron Gardenhire. They're both excellent managers, and they handle their situations well.
A foul that goes out of play.
And if you look at their payrolls, very similar. The Oakland A's have a $63.4 million payroll. That's Minnesota. The A's have a $64.2 million. So, I mean, they're very close in everything.
$1 million.
$1 million difference. Actually, $800,000 to be exact. And
Kendall, slow bouncer, cutting across Punto. He got him.
And the point is, remember this, they were talking about even taking the Twins away and getting them out. There's the play by Punto to get Kendall. But the point is, they were even thinking about, you know, getting rid of the Twins a couple of years ago.
Contract the Twins.
Yeah. And even the A's were in that discussion somewhere along the way. Now here are 2 teams that have done it the right way, and they're in the playoffs year after year. The Twins have been in there consistently. The Oakland missed last couple of years actually. But they're both very similar in that they're small market teams, and they do it the right way. And I think the Twins, you know, Oakland gets a lot of credit for it, of course, but the Twins are in a similar situation. They make the same types of moves, you know, with young players, and they build a great organization.
Reyes, the left-hander. Nashik, the right-hander, warming up for the Twins here in the 8th inning. 1 out, nobody on.
And actually, both of them made one key thing to me that puts them in this position where they're facing each other. With the A's, it was bringing Frank Thomas aboard. With the Twins, it was a trade they made with the Giants to bring Liriano Bonser here and also Joe Nathan. So those two moves have made these two teams playoff teams, whereas last year they weren't. You know, now here they are in the playoffs against each other, very similar teams, and they're both sitting here counting on winning this first ball game and setting the tone.
And both hot for several months. The Twins really since about the 1st of June been red hot. Katze chased one there into the bullpen. They scrambled. Punto jumps, and he got it. He makes the catch.
Well, he got his spikes caught in the netting down there.
What a play.
You see him make the leap. Now look at his left foot. It gets caught in the netting as he leaps above the stands to come down with it, but he gets his foot caught in there. And he gets a little help. And Santana kind of showing how much he appreciates it.
Fans have a nice sign down there from Nick Punto. It's not October, it's Puntober. And at least in this inning, Nick Punto has turned it into Puntober. When the Twins come up in the last of the 8th, they'll have the Piranhas, Bartlett, Castillo, and Punto due up in the dirt for a ball. Bradley has grounded a short twice and grounded into a double play. He is 0 for 3.
And make no mistake about it, it's a big inning for the Twins because, you know, you do not want the closer to come in the 9th. Houston Street, of course, is the A's closer. And if you're the A's, you definitely do not want the Twins to get ahead so they can bring in Nathan. But we're almost at the point where the closer on one side is going to be the key guy down the stretch.
Foul ball out of play by Bradley on a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Frank Thomas on deck. There's Houston Street. And the crowd on its feet now with a 2-strike count to Bradley. Change up, and Bradley fights it off. Pretty good job there by Bradley on a tough pitch. He broke his bat on that one.
Well, he hits it right off the end of the bat, and he stays alive.
Santana has 7 strikeouts, but he has not struck out anybody since the 4th inning. He struck out Eric Chavez in the 4th, and nobody since. So 104 pitches in the game. Down and in, and the count is 2-2. The bullpen ready if needed, with both the right-hander Nashik and the left-hander Reyes warming up. This will be the 106th pitch. Whoa!
Well, that was a beautiful pitch. I mean, you give Bradley credit for laying off of it. I think it would have been over the plate a little bit more. He probably would have swung at it. But see, this ball moves away from him, and he knows he can't handle it. It's still pretty close.
His own set. Great call by the umpire. 2 inches below the strike zone. Strike 3 call.
Man.
All right. It's a 1-run Oakland lead. The Piranhas are coming up. Bartlett, Castillo, Punto. And then the big guys after them. Here's Josh Bartlett. And he takes a changeup from Barry Zito. Strike 1. Bartlett, the 9th base hitter, has flied to right center and popped up to short. Luis Castillo will follow. And then Nick Punto. Big curveball outside. These 3 were dubbed the Piranhas by White Sox manager Ozzie Guillen back in August when they did a lot of damage to his slugging Chicago White Sox. 1-2 the count. But Bartlett has not been on base in this game. Neither has Punto, although Castillo has been on base 3 straight times. And the idea here is get some people on base and let the big guys, Maurer, Kadire, and Morneau, do something. He hangs a curveball too high. 2-2.
The Twins' offense is basic. That's what they do. They get guys on base at the top of the lineup, and then they have the players to drive them in. And in between, they'll steal a base, hit and run, do a few things.
Fastball down the left field line. Clear! A double for Bartlett.
Well, the last couple of innings, the high fastball hasn't been as effective for Zito as it was earlier. He got ahead, and then he tries the high fastball in, and he doesn't have quite the zip on it or movement there to get it past Bartlett, and Bartlett rips it down the line. They were not able to handle that high fastball early in the game, but the last couple of innings, they started to be able to tee off on it, and that's what Ron Gardenhire was telling us. He said, look, we'll swing it some, but beforehand, I mean, we're gonna hope to hit some of those high fastballs, and so far, the last couple of innings, they've been able to do that. I think you're in a situation where you have to bunt here, I mean, with Castillo, and hope Punto can put the ball in play for you, but I think, you're the home team. You do not want to go to the ninth trailing and bring in Houston Street.
You saw Justin Dukeshire, who's been an excellent setup man in front of Houston Street, and he's warming up in the Oakland bullpen now. Minnesota has had 52 games this year where they trailed and came back to win, most in the league. Castillo, runner at second, nobody out. He's bunting and missing. Throw to second base, and Bartlett hits me.
Man,
he was ticked off, and he was going to be out by 10 feet, but the throw was way offline. He scrambled, he crawled, he scratched, and got back to the bag.
He was definitely out if the throw is anywhere near the bag, but Kendall got rid of it quickly, and it was off target. Wow. You know what, John, I want to make a point. We talked about it earlier, but Bartlett, he's now repaid Santana for that pat on the back. He says, I get on base for you here.
And Castillo no longer bunting. Maybe they figure that's too high risk. Another bunt and a miss.
Well, that's unusual for the Twins because of the way that they play the game. I mean, they do bunt during the season. It's not something they're trying to do now that they haven't done during the year.
I think Bartlett gave his manager a little bit of a scare. Because by all rights, he's not supposed to be out there.
Right.
They had him dead. He was dead. Curveball, one hop to third. Bartlett has to hold it second. Castillo was not able to move him over.
Well, but you end up with a wasted out there. I still think you had to bunt. But,
well, Bartlett is showing his youth. He's showing his inexperience in this game.
Well, I think right there, Castillo is a veteran. I think he could bunt for you if you asked him to. He didn't bunt the first one, but I think you had to give him another chance.
Minnesota bullpen is busy.
It's a lot easier to get a guy in from third with less than 2 outs than it is to get a guy in from second with less than 2 outs.
It's Joe Nathan, the closer, on the left. Jesse Crane on the right. So here is Nick Punto to try and get Bartlett home from second. And I will give Oakland some credit. They made the pickoff throw down to second base. They didn't get him. They should have. But that may have been the reason that Gardenhire took the bunt off. To the right side, Ellis. Whoa! Bartlett, Joe, is in another world right now. He ran halfway to third and stopped. And Mark Ellis had just looked at him and thrown to first just as he stopped.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he stopped for. This wasn't a line drive. Right there he stops. Now he comes on over to third. I don't know exactly what he was doing. It was a ground ball, so to speak, or one hopper. It wasn't a line drive.
So now Maurer, the batting champion, with a possible tying run at third base. Maurer is 0 for 2 with a walk. Left field. But right there, Payton and the Twins do not get that run home. Wow. Things disintegrated in a hurry for the Twins after the double by Bartlett. Frank Thomas is coming up. Here's the pitching summary brought to you by Yellow Book. 8 strong innings from Barry Zito, 92 pitches, and 8 very nice innings from Santana, 107 pitches, and Santana leaves. Jesse Crane comes in to pitch. Santana 2 runs, 5 hits allowed in 8 innings, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. He threw a lot of extra pitches in that 7th inning because of the error on the double play ball. And now he's out of the game. Frank Thomas, the hitter. Frank has been swinging a hot bat for a long time, including today. You see Crane and his numbers for the year, and he has finished up strongly. He has not allowed a run in his last 23 and 2/3 innings pitched. And in the background, you may have seen the warm-up action of the Oakland bullpen. Houston Street is getting ready, and that ball is launched way back and gone. Frank Thomas with his 2nd home run of the game, and now it is 3-1. They get that run back right now.
I mean, the Big Hurt has 3 RBI, 3 hits, and 2 RBIs, 2 home runs. Well, the fastball, they were trying to go in. They get it in. Frank must have been looking for a fastball in, and he drilled it.
Way up into the stands out there. So here is Chavez.
And that takes all the pressure, so to speak, off of Houston Street, who has not been the lights-out closer lately that he was early in the year. But now he has at least 1 run to work with, 1 extra run.
There is Houston Street. The Twins have Kadire, Morneau, and Hunter, 3 sluggers in a row in the last of the 9th, but now down by 2 runs. Torrey Hunter out in center field. The 3 biggest run producers for the Twins, Kadire, Morneau, and Hunter. But why? I'm saying to myself, Joe, if I have Barry Zito, why am I taking him out?
Well, that's the way things are done now. He has, what, 92 pitches?
I think so.
Yeah, 92.
Curveball inside.
But, I mean, you could almost go in the same direction and say, you know, Santana had 107, but a lot of that came because of the error in the other inning. You could have left him in. So, I mean, to face Frank Thomas. But that's the way the game is now.
Slider in there for a strike. 2 home runs for Frank Thomas. The last time that was done in the postseason, Joe, was, or at least for the A's, was by Terrence Long against the Yankees 5 years ago. High and tight.
You know, I've said this before. I think this Oakland A's team can go, I mean, you know, they're better equipped, in my opinion, this year to advance than they have been in the past. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way Maka manages and the fact that now you have a Frank Thomas in the middle of this lineup.
And there is Castillo. Chavez is at number 1 here in the 9th. Now, let's go to the studio for an update. Carl Ravitch.
All right, John, we'll be here during the games, but the Pujols-Padre matchup set to begin. Albert, 6 for 12, 2 home runs against Jake Peavy. Chris Berman brings you that at 4 Eastern.
So to get ready to play ball out there, the Padres finished up the season hot, and the Cardinals just the opposite. The ball chopped by Peyton. Bartlett has to hurry, and just got it. Nice play.
John, make no mistake about it, St. Louis can still, you know, win that series. You know, you'd like to play St. Louis because, you know, their confidence level has to be lower than, say, the Mets or some other teams. But that doesn't mean you could beat them. It's the same thing with Detroit. I mean, Detroit's confidence level can't be as high as it should be, but it doesn't mean that you can beat them, because in a short series, anybody can win.
Well, Tony La Russa did something interesting on Sunday. He did not pitch his ace against the Brewers, Chris Carpenter. He took a gamble. He said he had 3 chances to get to the postseason.
Right.
Either they could win their own ball game on Sunday, or the Braves would beat the Astros. That would get them in. Or they could have Carpenter the next day in the makeup game against the Giants.
Right.
So he did not pitch Carpenter. And the guy he did pitch, Reyes, got knocked out in the first inning. But the Braves did beat the Astros, and his gamble paid off, because for me, their only real chance to win this first-round series from the Padres was for Carpenter to go in Game 1 and be available for 2 games. Plus, Suppan is the other guy who's been pitching well for them, and Suppan will be right in there as well. Swisher with a foul. 2-1 the count. So I'm tipping my hat to Tony La Russa. He took a gamble.
Well,
that could have backfired.
Yeah, being honest with you, John, I think it was the logical thing to do. And Tony's very logical.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I think it was logical.
But if it had not worked,
yeah,
well, he could have left himself exposed, which I think that's a sign of a good manager. That ball is hit toward the baggie in right field. The carom juggled by Kadire. Swisher was going to stop with a single, and then when the ball was bobbled, he took off his second and made it.
Well, the Twins uncharacteristically are making mistakes out here today that aren't helping their cause. This is a laser hit by Swisher. I mean, this ball is just nailed to right field, and it gets there so quickly. He was going to stop at first base, but when Kadire dropped it, watch, he stops right there, and now when Kadire drops it, he keeps on going to second base, and the A's have another runner in scoring position.
And here comes Ron Gardenhire, and they're going to make a move to the bullpen here. Pat Nashik is going to be brought in to face Marco Scutaro. 3-1. Oakland ahead. We'll be right back. Runner at second base. 2 down for the Athletics here in the 9th. And Marco Scutaro, the hitter, with Nick Swisher over at second base. And the new pitcher is Pat Nashik, another local product for the Twins. And he is kind of a side armor, slings it in there outside for ball 1. And he did a great job for the Twins. 37 innings, only 23 hits allowed, and 53 strikeouts. Kind of reminds me a little bit, similar style to the right-hander who did so well for the Padres down the stretch, Clay Meredith. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. The Twins already down by 2, and Nashik's job here is to keep the deficit right there. Scutaro has knocked in a run tonight with today with a double back in the second inning. He is 1 for 3. And on the outside with a strike. By the way, the shortstop for the Twins, and I was talking about some of his errors and miscues today, Joe. And even as I was making my own error. His name is Jason Bartlett.
You know, I heard you say that, and I should have told you quietly. It was my fault. I kept moving on.
Strike 3. Last chance for the Twins. Kadire, Morneau, Hunter. 3 of their biggest sluggers. Minnesota Twins have won Game 1 in 8 straight postseason series. The last time they lost a Game 1 was to Baltimore in Game 1 in 1970. That was only the second year that they had a playoff round before the World Series. So the Twins will try and keep that bit of history going and stay alive here in Game 1. They need 2 against Houston Street.
Well, John, we talked about Houston Street not being as effective the last week or 2 as he had been earlier in the season. It was just lights out before. He has struggled a little bit down the stretch.
First pitch strike to Michael Kadire. Kadire, the cleanup hitter. 24 homers, 109 batted in. Justin Morneau on deck, 34 homers, 130 batted in, and then Torrey Hunter, 31 homers, 98 batted in. Kadire lifts a high fly ball to right center, and Milton Bradley doesn't know where it is, and Petray plays the carom. Kadire digging for third, and he will make it to third. The Metrodome plays a hand.
Well, we talked about the fact that the ball, the color of the ball is the same color as the ceiling here in the Metrodome. the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome, I should say, and you just lose it up there. You see, Milton Bradley never knew where it was. Kotze was hustling all the way. You see right away he says, I don't see it.
So here's Morneau. Bradley makes the catch. Dyer back to third.
Well, even with that line out, just think how big that home run was that Frank Thomas hit. You know, they gave him the insurance run in this ball game. Well, you know, this is the same color as the baseball. That's the trouble. You know, and it's just, you're going to lose some balls out there over the course of the season. It's unfortunate you lose it in the playoff game, but you're going to lose some balls in the course of the season because of the roof being the same color.
Twins looking for that big hit with a runner in scoring position. Torrey Hunter. 1 ball and no strikes.
That was an interesting graphic there that showed no one has gotten a base hit. The A's are ahead 3-1, but
they've had 2 solo homers.
Yeah, and a double with a runner at first. So no one has had a base hit with a runner in score position. That means second or third base.
And that should get Dyer home, but the A's don't care.
Exactly.
They just want the out. Hunter is gone. 2 down, nobody on. It is now 3-2, and it goes back to that Frank Thomas homer in the ninth, Joe.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of something I remember Reggie Jackson said to me. He said, well, we needed an insurance run, so I hit it to the insurance building. And it got us an insurance run. And I took it downtown. It's funny how we're always quoting Reggie, isn't it? It is his time of the year, too.
Yeah, it's October.
Yeah, it is October.
Rondell White has had a double and a homer. A slider from Houston Street. He's got a great slider. And he's got 2 down and nobody on. And remember, the run he gave up was just a routine-looking fly ball, except in the Metrodome. And it is worse in the Metrodome in a day game with the sun shining outside, because that roof is one in which the sun comes through. There is Kotze. And the Oakland Athletics have defeated Johan Santana and have taken the initiative in this series. They lead 1-0, and they have broken the Twins' serve right here at the Metrodome.
Well, they came in to steal one, so to speak, and they won the first one. Now they'll be trying to win the second one tomorrow.
And our Chevrolet player of the game will be Frank Thomas. In recognition of his outstanding play today, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And the big hurt, Joe, was the man for Oakland in that lineup when they were not doing much hitting against Santana, but he got the first run, a homer, and he also knocked in what proved to be the winning run with a homer in the 9th inning.
Well, he is the reason that the A's are sitting here right now anyway. I mean, he was their most valuable player this year. He's one of the most valuable players in the league. 39 home runs, 114 RBIs. That's the first home run, and that made a big difference because it put the A's on top quickly. And it shut down the crowd a little bit. And then here's the insurance run in the 9th inning. And as you said, that proved to be the winning run because of a fly ball lost in the ceiling. It became a 1-run ball game.
Now you saw Milton Bradley, who was toweling off Frank Thomas, who's about to visit with Aaron Andrews.
Thank you, John. Frank, you've been swinging a hot bat. How were you able to get on top of Johan Santana so early with that first home run?
Early in the game, I just want to sit soft because I know how devastating that changeup is, and he has a nasty slider. So, you know, I've hit a lot of fastballs at the ballpark this year, and I figured they would be soft today. So it worked first couple at bats, but then I went back to being me, and I'm just happy. You know, we came here to win ball games and then play our butts off because no one's giving us a fighting chance. But you know, that's where we're at right now because no one's giving us a fighting chance all year. But we believe in ourselves, and that's what it's all about right now.
You had said coming into this series, the Metrodome, one of the most intimidating home field advantages there are in baseball. How are you able to keep this crowd out of it enough?
I've had a lot of experience here. This was my biggest rival for 16 years, so I played a lot of big ball games in this building, and I knew what to expect, and I just came ready to play today.
You win game 1 in the Metrodome versus Johan Santana. How does that set you guys up the rest of the way in the series?
Hey, we just need to win one here. The toughest thing in a 5-game series is to win one ball game in their park. So today we just came ready to play, and I'm just happy we got the victory.
Thank you so much. We'll send it back up to John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, and congratulations to Frank Thomas. Now, the Athletics have been here before, Joe.
Right.
Winning a game 1, and they've been here where they've won the first 2 games.
Correct.
And I'm talking in recent vintage, going back the last 6 years, but they have not been able to win the clinching game. They've had 9 clinching game efforts without a win.
Well, they've never been able to get out of the first round, so that's the key right there.
But a huge win today. 3-2, Oakland over the Twins. Santana takes the loss in a ballpark where he had not lost all year long. Zito got the win. Now to the studio and Carl Ravitch.